Damn these. Andrew, come on now. 6:45 on the dot, son. I never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine. I have not. Summer heat never treats me kind. It leaves trouble on my mind. So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time. Sing. This highway does not know my name. Damn and I don't care. No, I don't care. Headed my way for another place, and I got what's up, Jeff? 3 good tires and a spare. Just a white line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there. Yoder, low budget, live, actually live. We're doing it. We're living up to the name of the show, how this all started live all the time. And way back then, 8 years ago, this August, it'll be 8 years. We started doing this craziness, me and my buddy Darren and Big C, and we didn't even record them. So, hit 300 episodes this year, and it's probably more like, I don't know, closer to 350 or more. Because we didn't. What's up, Wes? What's up, Jeff? Got Yoder trying to find my house. He knows where my house is at, actually. Kevin Van Yoder in the house. What's up, Patrick? Got a woo pig. I can't say that right now. It's Go Big Orange. We're damn sure competitors right now in this old SEC basketball. But what's up, you bunch of lowlifers? I hope everybody, 125,000 right now, 125,000 joining in already. We've got the one and only Z Train coming up just here in a little bit. I wanted to kick things off a little bit ahead of that just because we got some housekeeping stuff to talk about. Y'all know me. I always got a few things to talk about, and we're going to have a dang good time with the one and only Mark Zona just here in a little bit. But while there's 131,000 people, and I know so many of y'all will actually be hearing this tomorrow, the folks that don't get to watch live and that kind of thing, get to watching it and listening a little bit later, I want to announce to all the lowlifers, if you are coming to Fort Worth to the Bassmaster Classic, I can finally let the cat out of the bag where we're going to be having the low budget live throwdown, and it's going to be at Birdie's Social Club. Birdie's Social Club, they're going to host us. It is going to be a time. It's going to be an outdoor venue. Got a really cool outdoor stage set up, but it's going to be a live podcast like it has been the last few years with live music to follow. My band, I got old Ben Blue, I got John Simpson, Shannon Wheeler, and my dude Ryan Engelman from the one and only Turnpike Troubadours will be playing guitar that night with us, and maybe some other special guests because it is Texas, and Texas does everything big when it comes to music, so you never freaking know. But y'all come on out. Probably kick things off around 8 o'clock. Obviously, we got a lot of time to talk about it between now and then, but I am pumped. Been working on it, man. We had another venue, and I think I told the story on the show. Had another venue knocked down that was going to be a big venue. I was going the biggest one that we've ever, that would have ever hosted this event, because the last couple have just been packed out. I know so many of y'all have been there with us, and it's a little tight. And so I was trying to go a little bit bigger, and we actually got bumped for a band. The venue we were playing was actually a music hall that we were going to be doing this. I'm a dreamer. I got big dreams, and it held several people, and we had it knocked down. And then because of some things that happened in the music industry, we got booted, and no big deal. So we found another, and Birdie's it is. I hope Birdie's has plenty of bathrooms. Tulsa was rough. So there we go. That was the reason for the the need for a bigger venue. there was lots of things going on at Birdie's, but being able to get in the bathroom was not one of them. Being able to get to the bar, it was there at Tulsa at the Hunt Club. It was an awesome venue, but dude, we were packed in there like sardines, and it was it was tough to get to the bathroom. It was one of the complaints I had from the night, and folks were lined out around the block trying to get in there. So we're gonna go a little bit bigger venue, a little more spread out. It's gonna be a good time at Birdie's. It's real close to the convention center, so hope y'all can make it if you are at the Classic Saturday night, as always. Yeah, Jamie Sizemore, what's up, my friend? He's coming in saying we could feel Billy Bob's. I don't know. Billy Bob's pretty damn big honky tonk, Jamie. That's pretty big spot. Kevin Van Yoder, but y'all are a band. Did you try telling them that? Well, see, that was the deal. It is a little weird. So this place, going back to that real quick, I mean, they have like national touring acts at this place. So it is kind of a tough sell sometimes to be like, hey, me and my buddies are going to get up here and play some songs that y'all have never heard and y'all don't know. And here's the thing about Fort Worth. I'll say this. Most places a Classic goes, it's not that big of a city. I mean, Knoxville's a big town, don't get me wrong, but like, dude, they are jacked to have the Classic in Knoxville, just like I am to go back there. And Fort Worth is just a different animal, right? You've got all the tourism that goes on there. It'd be like having it in Nashville almost, right? Like people, bars and clubs out there, they don't need a crowd. They got a built-in crowd every single night of the week, 7 nights a week pretty much. And so, and when I was playing music all the time, you kind of get into that. It can be hard to get gigs in places like that. So, the first time we were there at the Library Bar and Grill in Fort Worth, shout out to those folks. They're fantastic hosts. We've outgrown that a little bit though now. And so I wanted to find a bigger place. And a lot of the bigger places are down in the stockyards, kind of hard. I had some interesting conversations with a couple places, to say the least, but we are raring to go at Birdie. So thank y'all. The Fat Rascals will be there. We might have to change the band name. Ben Ballou gets all tore up about being the Fat Rascals. The guys don't like it. And that just kind of have to change the name. All the boys, they don't want to be known as the Fat Rascals. We're all trying to lose weight right now. So I don't know. We may be the Flat Rascals because we can't sing or play. Fred Ashcraft, our son left for the Air Force today, serving our country. Thank you. Thank him for us, low-lifers, Fred. And we'll be thinking about y'all. I know that's probably a tough day for y'all. Bittersweet day. I know you're probably proud of your boy, but that's hard to watch him walk out the door to go do that, I'm sure. Ken Horton, greetings from Michigan. Welcome. Kevin, yeah. 177,000. That's exactly what I told him, Yoder. 189,000 people watch this every single week. I do wish we could have the Classic in Nashville. Scott McNair, I agree with that. I think that could be a really good venue. But again, these tournament trails, when a lot of people get to griping about the schedules over the years, I try to say this. There's so much that goes into why a tournament is, where they have it. And I've seen negative comments about Knoxville. Well, in the business of bass fishing and the tournament side, obviously they get paid. These organizations, especially the Classic, it's the crown jewel event. They get paid to be in the cities they are in. So they put it out for bid to a lot of places, normally highest bidder that has the best facilities, the best setup for them. That's why you see it at repeat venues a lot of the times, because once these towns, especially if it's a place that's never had it, like Fort Worth, when they had it the first time, they saw, holy crap, this 150,000 insane fishing fans came to our town for this deal. So then you see them go back. I'm sure they'll go back again after this year to Fort Worth at one time, so or another. But I think Knoxville will be a big one. I'm sure we'll be maybe at the Hill again in Knoxville. I have not talked to Trevor at the Hill about that yet, but I'm sure that the low-lifers will always be welcome at the Hill, and we may even go bigger than that next year. I'm not sure. Got some ideas I'm kicking around. All right, guys. Percy Priest is putting out some decent bags. I've seen that. Yeah, Percy Priest would be a good Classic lake. No doubt about it. I think the Cumberland River would be cool. I know it's not, necessarily the best in the world. At times it can be kind of stingy, but I think a Nashville Classic would be really cool. I used to talk to FLW about having a cup there way back in the day before Nashville was, got to be where it's at right now. I live an hour and a half south of Nashville. Love Nashville, but it's a crazy town now. It's a little bit more like Las Vegas than Nashville. Let's see. I saw another comment I wanted to touch on real quick before our guy gets here. What's up, Luke? 37-pound bag on Santee Cooper this weekend in the cat tournament. That's just insane. I saw there was a 41 somewhere in the Carolinas this weekend. I think it took 32 in Chickamauga in the BFL. I'm telling you, man, these weights are just insane right now. And it's a fun time. It's like that low budget light I did this week. You can get past the negativity. There's a lot of negativity in bass fishing right now. There's some pretty damn cool things going on. That Pickwick Toyota series was insane. Absolutely a lot of fun stuff going on in bass fishing. Real quick, I want to thank some sponsors real fast. Y'all know the drill. Want to run through them real fast, but they make all this possible. Pro Guide Batteries, ProGuideBatteries.com, some of the best lithium batteries in the game, AGMs or lead acids. ProGuideBatteries.com is where you can find them. They have their new charger line. Use code LBL10 and they will hook you up for being a low lifer with a discount. And I've been running their lithium since the jump, and I promise you, no issues. Fantastic people, fantastic family business. Go check them out, ProGuideBatteries.com. Old Boy Outfitters, what's up, Old Boy? A lifestyle brand, go check them out. Old Boy Luke is your code there. Bait-works.com, Bait-WRX, got the little LOB jig right there, the namesake. It's got a low budget live logo on the package. Duncan-10 saves you coin there. And last but not least, hang the imaginary banner. Express Boats. I'm sure we'll be doing a podcast in the Express Boats booth again here at the Bassmaster Classic coming up very, very soon. I'm running the X21 Pro right now, and I've got another one on the way. If you know anybody that wants mine, you can have it for a nominal fee. You too can own an Express boat. Appreciate the Boats from Express supporting this and building excitement since 1966. So speaking of excitement, he's a little early. I see him waiting in the wings here, ladies and gentlemen. I was going to talk about a few other things, but understand, nothing could top this gentleman joining us live tonight. He is not only a hero of mine, I'm proud to call him a friend and a mentor in this. He is a legend in the sport of bass fishing, always will be. He's one of my favorite people. The Z Train has arrived at the station.
Oh, let's go.
Let's go.
She just left. She wanted some airtime. Clover wanted some airtime.
Clover?
Yes, she did.
And she's gone.
She's a rescue dog, and she's turned, actually, Hunter and Jacob, who went to Michigan State.
Yep.
We have paid more money to discipline this animal than both kids combined going to college. And Luke, it's one of those things, and you know these things, it's one of those things that seemed like a really good idea at the time that has turned out not to be that way.
But let me just tell you, my wife, if there's a damn dog on the side of the road, the triple threat's bringing it to the house. It's coming. It's coming out. We've got so many dogs. It's just absurd. I think we are up to 5 now. I don't know if a lot of lowlifers know that, but we're up to 5 dogs.
Exactly. And you met the Dachshunds. You met Zach and Fred.
Yep.
And Zach was a F around and find out. Like, you come in, you just look at that dog wanted a piece of you instantly, right? Clover's the same way, but here's what's weird about Clover. She has, and I don't want to waste your time about this, but she has that alluring look of wow, that is a gorgeous dog until you get close, and then it's literally taking your face off. Yes.
I'm good with that though. Sometimes the F around and find out mentality.
Right.
I like it. Well, welcome to Low Budget Live, actually live, bud. I don't think we've ever done one of these live.
Which genuinely scares me, just because this is entirely past my bedtime. I stayed up very late last night for the Super Bowl, and you know how I am with live stuff. I've done approximately 272,000 hours, and every minute I'm live, I'm scared of me, Luke.
I know you are.
To be honest with you,
you and I together live could be a dangerous combo. I think that's why some of the people are here in the comments there. Z, I think
wouldn't be scared. I wouldn't be scared just to have almost like a 10-second pause in case the wheels came off.
Well, it is low budget, and that could happen at any point. But
yeah, I know.
But there's no dump button here, though.
I watch. Don't worry. I know.
Well, see,
if I start, listen. And this is an old Bassmaster live trick. You know this when you're covering the NPFL. if you slow down talking, you're trying to make sure everything comes out correctly.
Yes, indeed.
Old trick. Old trick.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you got to throttle her back a bit.
Right.
Just throttle her back just a bit. So first question I have for you, and it was actually a question that was asked before I even went live, was, are you a low lifer? And I feel like I can answer that.
Gosh.
I was like, no.
I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan.
This is the low lifer. He's the reason you guys are called low lifers.
In fact, what's funny is I've basically started this podcast with Tommy based off of your podcast.
Wait a second. Hang on.
Exactly.
Who are the legends in the game? I mean, I don't know what I have to rip off, but you rip me off?
Absolutely. Come on. That doesn't go on in this industry ever, said nobody ever. No, you know this because my gosh, here's what's funny about, and you know this the best about podcasts is algorithms and consistency and all that BS. You have done it your way when you felt like doing it, whenever. Like there's no schedule. I got a lot of respect for that because I live my life like that.
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate that, buddy. Well, I mean, I guess we kind of got a schedule now to a certain extent, but it's like,
no, you don't. Give me a break.
Yeah,
you don't. You so don't. If they're biting on Pickwick, your schedule's bullshit, is what it is. Right?
Okay. Guilty. Or if the deer are chasing does, if the bucks are chasing does, I'm like, shit.
I got a schedule with Sanders doing it too. Said no, I don't.
So let's start there. What the first episode dropped? I saw the promo stuff today. TNZ. So, like, is that a play on words with TMZ? I'm guessing it's kind of like you guys TNZ.
We're not that smart, TNZ. Luke. Give me a break. It turned out that way. And
I set you up on a tee.
McKinnis asked me, he's like, so here's how it all kind of came about was, and you knew this for the last 3 or 4 years because I didn't hide it. I was done. Done with Bassmaster Live. Just best job on earth. I left there with to be able to leave something that you're involved in for as long as we did that through highs and lows and pandemics and the best of the sport, the worst of the sport, to be able to walk away in some way, shape, or form, to be able to high five each other. That, you know this because you and I've talked about it, but I haven't talked about it. It meant a lot to me to leave the right way.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when that time, that I personally didn't know that when that time was, but Karen told me when that time was. We were literally on the pontoon in July, and she said, "Hey, you're done. You know what? You've done everything you wanted to do with Bassmaster, but juggling, because you and I worked on the Zona show side of it with TH Marine and stuff like that. Yeah. And it was a juggling act for 20 years, a great juggling act, because shoot, dude, to be able to say, man, I want to, and here's the best way to put it. And this is just factual. I did a seminar in Ohio, and somebody asked about this, with Bassmaster, and they said, what's the plan? And my politically correct way is I want to do more Zona show stuff, which is short for saying I just want to go fishing more.
So I want to be left alone.
But that's kind of, and here's what's weird about that is I did tell Mike when we kind of cut the cord on that, and it was hard, Luke. It was really hard. Just for the Tommy aspect, the sitting in that chair aspect. And when we did the Hall of Fame, Mike said, "What are you going to do now?" I said, "I'm going to do on these podcast things, right? I don't even listen to. I listen to your podcast, right? I listen to Chicago Bears BS. But sitting in that chair, there's also a lot of things if you, and you know, you know this, is sitting in that chair, you also do have to, in some way, shape, or form, and I don't think I did, but you have to hold some things back.
Million
Fair?
percent. Million
You
percent.
do.
Yeah. Million percent.
And I think for 20 years I threw it. If I didn't throw it, I would beat around the bush for at least the insiders that fought the low-lifers knew what I was saying. But and look, on the other, I'm rambling a lot right now.
No, you're great.
I wanted to, and I said this during my Hall of Fame speech, was, dude, I still want to work with Tommy.
Of course, yeah.
I still want to work with that dude. I owe him so much, but the other side is, this is really bizarre. You are a communicator, okay? You know better than anybody on earth. It is very hard to find somebody side by side, parallel next to you that I think you probably, I mean, you're still married. You probably communicate fairly well with your wife.
Some days, yeah.
Some days. And this is going to sound absolutely batshit crazy, is next to the Scorpion, to Karen, Tommy is one of the only people that I've met in my life that I have that weird connection. And it's hard to even describe this, but you know what I'm trying to say without getting it correct. I know what he's thinking, and I know the end of his sentence before he's even at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never, and I didn't, even though Bassmaster Live was done, I didn't want, now look, he could have looked at me and said, hey man, you're an ass. I don't want to work with you. You quit.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
But I said, when I was on stage, I was at the podium, I said, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know how, but if you'll still want to work, I said, let's figure something out. And the best way to figure something out is just throw something out there, which is pretty much exactly what we did.
Well, I didn't get to watch today, but I will tonight when we're finished with this.
There's some things in there. There's
no doubt. Well, you told me we were texting about it a little bit. You said I didn't hold back. You'll be proud of me. And I'm such a Tommy fan. I was talking to a guy last week that used to work with Tommy during the Great Outdoor Games. I'll take you back for a minute.
Right.
It was a guy, a customer I was calling on, that used to be in the retriever, super retriever stuff.
Yes.
And he knew you as well, but didn't work with you as close. And we were talking about just what a legend that man is. And I just hope that people, and I don't think I even realized how much so until I got into your world a little bit with the commentating thing, and you realize, how great both of you are. But just what a pro Tommy is, because I remember seeing him. No, dude, I think.
What are you saying?
No, I'm talking about like back in the day when him and Jerry first started FLW on ESPN. And he was just like, you could tell it was just Tommy. Yeah, and dude, but then I feel like you brought out a whole other side of him.
You ought to see it off camera.
Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could.
This is terrible.
I do.
He's one of us. He's one of us.
Oh yeah. But such a pro.
I'll tell you what he possesses that I'm jealous of, and I'm not a jealous dude. I'm not. I don't have that trait. Is he's able to carve you. He's able to carve you, and you not catch it for like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, dude. That is a. I like to carve, but the problem is it's up front and center, which is what you do. Yeah. Is Tommy has one where like 5 minutes later you're like, hey, did he shred me?
Yeah, he got me.
He got me. He tends to do it on live every now and then if you watch really closely.
I feel like as he's gotten older and he's done this for so long, more and more of that does slip out on live if you're paying attention.
Yeah, and what's funny is Van Dam was one of the ones that said to me, he said, you brought something out of Tommy on camera that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I brought out who he really is, which is a jackal and a hyena. Right? It was always in there. It was always in there.
So are you going to be sad, do you think, when the first Elite kicks off at the St. Johns River? Is that going to be a weird, bittersweet day?
Not at all. No, Luke,
okay.
no, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I have to have the PC question. I have to ask.
No.
I know the truth.
Good. I'm all good.
Because
Everything's
you
good.
were. We could talk about this here now. Now that the cat's out of the bag, you and I have had a lot of conversations over the years about this in recent years. That you were just burned, dude.
Oh, I
You've
got
been
smoked.
burning at both ends, and then it's so funny. You would see the public response because they love you. And they were like, why is Zona only at half of the tournaments? Or why is Zona, what the hell is going on? You can see the comments. I'm like, oh, I know. He doesn't he doesn't want to do this as much anymore.
It was the most obvious thing ever, Luke. Right? Yeah. It was the and I hate to, boy, this is terrible. I hate to blame Boyd for something that he has nothing to do with. But listen, when the jihad happened, the year before.
Hang on a second. We have to acknowledge that jihad is a great joke for that, by the way.
Nobody else, right. I came up with that during probably one of our texts at 10 o'clock at night, 6 years ago.
Yes.
I don't know what tournament was at, but Zona show started to get a little bit out, in a good way, started to get a little bit out of control where I was not able, dude, it's when I worked with you all the time.
Yep.
It started to get a little bit to where I couldn't manage it correctly. So I talked to Mike and I said, hey, can we bring Davey in? And this is no joke. I pulled Davey. Davey was covering some classic back then. So let's just say it's 6 or 7 or whatever, 7 years ago. And I said, hey, I'm going to start backing out. Do you want to do this? And he's like, man, in the next few years, I'm really interested. I was like, no, I'm talking like next few months, dog.
Yeah, like now.
And he did. So that's when I backed off to a half a year. Jihad happens, everything explodes. The professional fishing industry is on fire, and I felt obligated to get back into it full time and do the best win, lose, or draw, do the best I could for what that brand gave me and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden you find yourself back in there. And then the same thing, you're trying to balance stuff out. And then I backed out for, I was doing Bassmaster Live here in Jacob's bedroom.
Yeah.
Through the pandemic, which was fantastic.
Yes. I'm jealous of that setup that you had. Like
I can't tell you, Luke, hold on. I cannot tell you in this room. So during the pandemic, you know where I live. You've been to the house. It's a party lake.
Yeah.
On Saturday or Championship Sunday, by the time we're into 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., the lakeshore started to flow into this room behind the camera. And it looked like the lakeshore might have started a little early that day, right?
Yeah.
And finally I looked at Karen, I'm like, hey, I don't think this is going to work out in this bedroom situation. So anyway, that was a really long story, but you're right. It got to a point. The other side is, and you know this, I think that chair is so important to the industry. And if you're not able to give that chair and Bassmaster and Tommy the respect it deserves, and I'm not saying this from a being politically correct, if you're not able to give it 150%, it's time to not do that. And I know Mike will find the person. Davey does, is he I don't know. I don't know. I'm still going to join the group when they ask me to. I know that I'm going to cover this year's classic. And here's what's weird is the classic is, this, the classic from I've always talked to you off to the side, it's a hard week.
It's a very hard week.
It's a hard week. This year, like I'm really looking forward to covering it and being able to be loose and fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, the Classic is. I don't think a lot of fans realize what that week is like
It's a
for you
monster,
guys.
man.
Like it's a monster, but then for everybody in the industry too, working the show, and ICAST week's a little bit like that too, right? Like you just go, go, go. But the
I
Classic,
don't. No, not ICAST.
see, I do.
I go and I walk right out the back.
I do. I go way too hard at ICAST as well.
I don't.
But the Classic week, it is,
That's
and
hard.
everybody's kind of got their own deal, right? But since I really gained so much more respect for what you guys had going whenever I started working with MPFL and ABT and seeing the things, but then at the Classic for me, I do a couple live podcasts now, and then I'm doing this for sponsors, and you go here and you go there, and by the time I'm back home, like on Monday, I'm like, what just happened? I don't even know who won the tournament most of the time. That's honest to God. Like
I don't
know
either.
who's
I covered
leading.
the thing.
Yeah. This I believe. This I believe. But yeah, man, it's the Classic is a freaking gauntlet. So you will be, and I saw that in the comments earlier. You will be at the desk during the Classic. You doing all of the event, or are you just going to kind of do some guest spots, or
still working through the still working through some of that stuff. Yeah, and I told Mike, like, I know they're doing they're trying to, I think they're doing like a college game day style. I think they're doing something at one of the events that is close to my house. And Mike said, "Hey, you want to? Yeah, heck yeah, man! I'm totally up for that." So, and the other, Luke, and I didn't know this. I did not know this, dude. And maybe it's because I when I'm not on camera doing Zona show or doing Bassmaster, I didn't know how. Man, I learned this after the jihad. The fans, not even of Bassmaster, but the fans of the sport, how much they're like me and you.
Mm-hmm.
Like
very much so.
They're almost into it to a fault at times.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
Passionate.
And I'm that way. You're that way. 80% of guys that fish are that way. You care about it so much. You care about it to a fault at times.
Too much at times. Yeah.
Too much. And I probably have gone through that. I know you have. I listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude is so spun out right now. But what
he's so shook about forward facing sonar.
Oh my gosh. That was so great. Like doing seminar Saturday, I had a 65-year-old man barking at a 22-year-old, and I'm just throwing gas on it. Just throwing gas on it. It's terrible. But I learned when I left that seat, when they, we were not gonna, I didn't want to announce it because I felt it took away from the tournament. I told, Mike a month prior, and I didn't want it to come out. Just, I wanted Chris Johnston winning Angler of the Year, and Rick Clunn retiring, and Corey winning that tournament, and those two ganging up on that poor little Robert G. kid that lives down the road from you. To me, and
poor little Ewok Robert G.
Right.
Bullied by those damn Canucks.
And then you throw in some bullshit I'm retiring thing going on. I just didn't want to do that. That's just not my style. I bet
somebody at Bass was glad you retired just to take some heat off of some of that shit.
It was fantastic.
Like,
here's what's
thank God, Zona.
If you hired what do they call is it a caricature, the people that do the cartoons?
Yeah. Put
if
the
you hire
big head on you,
a security guard in a bank with a billy club and two outlaws, Robert G is the security guard standing in the bank, and these two outlaws come in and take all the loot and crack him over the head. It was anyway, so hold on. Wheels
no,
on
I love
the track.
It. I love it.
I
love all those guys. That was my problem with the entire thing, is I love all of them.
All of them.
All of them.
And what I really learned, and I got in my truck and I got a lot of messages, and I learned again, and it was the second time in my 20 years, the passion of the viewer and the fans that watch all this madness and weirdness, even if we're only 150,000 big or 200, whatever, however many that number is. But I'm talking the nutbag hardcores that said goodbye to me meant a lot.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I tell you, like I said, total number of conversations we had about that over the years was a few about it, but I had no idea. And I text you sitting there on FS1, like watching on FS1 when you made it the first time. And then you kind of finished things up on bassmaster.com later that day. And I text you immediately watch, because I mean, it got me, but not from I wasn't sad, because I knew it was ultimately what you wanted. But it was it was just a moment, man, because you've been such a large part of so many of us fishing freaks' lives for so long, man. Going back to, I remember, dude, being such a fan of the loudmouth bass days.
Oh my gosh.
That shit was, but it was just so outside the box for us fishing nerds.
Well, if you watch the podcast, it's almost like loudmouth 2.0.
Okay. I can't wait. I can't freaking wait. And I know it's going to be great. Speaking of loudmouth bass, and I'm seeing some comments, so I have to ask this. So I've done like 3 podcasts lately about Tony Christian, just because it's the most intriguing story ever. And he's fishing again. He's fishing an electric only bass club in Georgia, and he's winning.
I would probably give him a truth verification before he actually hits the water, not after. No
doubt about it. But do you remember?
So I'll give you something on Tony. I've never met Tony one time.
You guys interviewed him though, right? You and Kumar?
No.
Okay.
No. I've never said this publicly.
Okay.
So he agreed. I fished against Tony. Okay. On a lake right down the road from your house. I fished against him on Old Hickory, right before he disappeared into a puff of smoke. Right.
He did indeed.
He did too. Literally. I think literally.
Just gone.
So that I don't know. Fall is when loudmouth started, and I was working with Kumar, and I don't know this as fact, but the producers of Loudmouth Bass contacted Tony Christian, and he agreed to that interview only if I was not there.
Come on.
No, 100%. You can ask Kumar that. So Kumar went and did the interview, and I was like, screw that, dude. I fished against this guy. I want to know, here was my thing. I want to know, how'd you only fish one dock in, is it Drake's Creek? Is it Drake's?
Yeah, Drake's on Old Hickory. Yeah, Drake's Creek.
I was in Drake's, and I watched that dude fish one dock for 4 hours. And I'm like, Luke, I can fish a boat dock. I fished every single dock in Drake's Creek, and he's still on one boat dock. I had questions like that. Do I know as fact that I was the one that he pointed out that he did not want in that interview? Every single producer said, you cannot be there or he will not do this, because I had my own questions.
No. Yeah. So I did a couple weeks ago, I had the guy that finished second to him on the All-American. I've been doing these Thursday shows, LBO Light, and I had the guy on, and his story was just astonishing, man. You feel for the guy 20-something years ago, 2003. He finished second with this douche bag. He never gets anything. The
dude changed careers.
Yeah. Yeah. So he quits. He doesn't even fish anymore. He doesn't fish competitively anymore, because at that point, when you won the All-American, FLW gave you a truck, a boat. They paid your entry fee to the FLW tour.
Hell, he'd fit in perfectly right now, though.
Tony, listen, really, if we're being honest, he's made for professional bass fishing now, though. Can you imagine?
You know what? You know what he was? He was a trendsetter before his time.
You ain't cheating, you ain't winning. So.
That's so bad.
It is bad.
I actually hope that D-Bag's watching this thing right now.
You hope who's watching it?
I hope he's watching this. Right?
No chance, dude. I've been trying to bait him into coming on.
I'm sure you have.
I'm trying. There's nothing more. I was in college when all that shit was going on, so I want nothing more than to get to interview him now after resurrecting this story like so many others have. But it's just every time there a cheating anything happens, all I think about is, you remember that Tony Christian literally stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from FLW and other anglers, and then he just rode off.
It's almost like that goofy, like the walleye Blair Witch video. Like you could see Tony just standing in the background of it. You know what I mean?
Like, man. Yeah, but Tony's the guy that he
pointing at somebody else.
Yeah, Tony would have been the guy's like, let's get them.
Yes.
You see those cheating bastards? Let's get them, guys. Ain't nobody putting weights and fish around here.
Oh, I'm a big old boy. I throw a big old jig. That's what he said.
People are scared to fish for big fish. That's what he said. I'm not scared. I'm a big bass man. Tony Christian.
He is.
Yeah, right in the box.
He's something else.
He was something. I tried to get Mr. Bill Taylor to tell me the story one night. I had him. We were sipping on a couple adult beverages at an event for Costa Sunglasses years ago, and I'm like, here we go. It's happening. I'm going to get the D. And he's still trapped, dude. He will not. None
Hold
of those.
back.
They won't tell you. Like I have tried so many different angles. Like, come on. Like when Bill retired, I had him on the show. I'm like, come on, Bill, tell us the story.
And not to dwell on it, but what was funny was it was like he was here one day, and then Tony was gone the next.
Yeah,
gone.
Yeah. But to all you lowlifers, he does have a Facebook. So if you want to blow him up, you can find him. Blow him up and tell him he needs to do Low Budget Live. It'll be the greatest night of his life. We'll give him redemption.
Let's do it.
About redemption and
get me back on Low Budget if you get him on here and say Zona wants that interview. You would
dude. We'll totally like Pat McAfee him where we just have somebody what's that? Hang on, Tony. I'm getting word. We have a special guest that's going to join us. Cue the Stone Cold music. Glass breaks.
Oh, I love it.
Hello, Tony. You're not running. You're not running from this. So you said that he would fit in great in bass fishing, which leads me to the next question. Where do you think our beloved sport is headed that we pay way too much attention to? Because I feel like we're in a really weird time. I think we're in a cool time. There's a lot of really big stringers getting caught. We all know, primary reason behind that. But like, if you can get past the negativity, I keep saying there's a lot of really neat things happening at the same time. We're seeing some astonishing weights. We're seeing some people figure out some different things we've never seen. But where do you, as a whole, professional bass fishing, where do you think we are headed?
Man, that's a convoluted.
It is.
Luke, that's a really, really convoluted question. One of the things that I said, I'm going to stand by this and live by the one thing that I said in that podcast with Tommy, and I'm going to live by this. I don't care, man. I want the game to be legit, right? There's been a lot, really the last 24 months, there's been two things. There's been forward-facing sonar is one massive topic, and then over here, you've got rule bending, rule, whatever that is. And when when you say, where is the sport headed? All I care about is that the playing field is fair for the dudes that are out there. Right. And I believe, and I said this on that podcast, if I'm Chris Bose or I'm Chase Anderson, or the head of any league, and you blatantly, I'm not talking blowing a no wake or coming to the wake late, anything that's unintentional BS. But to me, if I'm in that chair, and this is a hard thing to say and do, is you find a dude that strike one and strike two, where he is a convicted rule violator intentionally, not intentionally. you are gone for good. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Go do something else and don't ever show up again. And you start to, in something like that, you start to deal with attorneys and whatever it is. But I'm going to tell you, if I had the money and the principle, that's what I think. Things have gotten a little bit out of hand the last 4 years, to where it's almost common to hear, oh, look, you bring a lot of juice on your podcast, but you know more than you give.
1,000,000%.
Every single podcast, you give enough to get attention, but I know things that have gone on. And to me, you catch that person doing that shit more than once, go away.
Yeah.
You're done. And I don't think a lesson has been learned yet. And I don't know. That's what I think should be done sooner rather than later.
I would agree. And I think that, the old saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. It's cliche as it gets, but in a lot of cases in bass fishing,
why is that smoke only around 4 people?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, oh, we're supposed to believe that they're fantastic. And there's always a little smoke in tournament bass fishing, right? You and I know a lot of the smoke. JT Kinney said it on this show one time. It's one of my favorite quotes. He said, in bass fishing, we cover up the things we should cover. And we do, to a certain extent, for one reason or another, a sponsored thing.
Which is BS.
It sucks, because you are a sports nut like I am. Everything else in sports, it gets thrown out there. Yeah. For the most part, it gets thrown out there from people's personal lives to the terrible decisions they make. And I think that the only way that the next generation coming in will fear making a mockery of the tournament organizations is for some examples to be made.
Yes. And I would say, if you're to ask me, where do we sit? Look, you're right. There's really, 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 really great things. You see that there's also a transition in the stars of, the true stars of this sport. They're different, really different than they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I guess not from an actual content and fishing, because I'm still into it like you. All I want to do is watch Bassmaster Live and NPFL or Major League Fishing, and I just want to learn how to catch one more bass. Selfishly, that's why I probably covered bass. I would have probably paid to cover Bassmaster just to become a better fisher.
No doubt, dude.
Is I think one thing that's gone away, and probably it's how we consume fishing now, but back in the day, okay, like when you talk about when you were in college and stuff like that, that's a little bit like when Greg Hackney, the dude was known as a jig fisherman, like Denny Brower, and Larry Nixon threw a worm, and David Fritz cranked, and then Kevin brought crank in from Fritz and Clun and brought it to a whole different level. There was a lot more teaching, learning. Maybe it's because we didn't know anything back then. I think that's one thing. There's still some really good. Look, I get it that these guys are out there trying to cut a check and pay bills and all that stuff, but they're also they're the new teachers of this, and I don't think you see quite as much now as you used to back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. And could it be though, like this paradigm shift of, you do the Zona show, then you do Zona on YouTube, and then everything is, so content hungry the world is, right? And you talk about teaching. Back then, though, when I was hanging on everywhere, there was nothing like that unless Kevin Van Dam told me that on the Bassmasters or in Bassmaster magazine or at a seminar. I had no way to know why he liked that 6XD other than what he told me. now because
even hold on, even the Luke, the biggest topic is forward facing sonar. Okay.
Yeah.
For the most part, across the board, 10 dudes really dominate with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why do they?
Yeah.
Well, why do they? I mean that.
I know.
There are certain, you know this, whenever you're out shining, doing that, yeah, there might be 95% of the field doing it, but boy, that 10% is really better with it.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that 10% really don't like to talk about why.
Talk about it at all. Shout out to Patrick Walters. You and I collectively have covered Patrick Walters. I love Pat.
Watch the podcast. He is in my top tier of anglers that is total, when you are talking to him, bullshit. That is what Patrick Walters
100%. And look, I am a Patrick Walters super fan. 100%. I love him. He's hilarious. Big old personality. He's a great dude, but he's not going to give you, forget a nugget. He's not going to give you a little chip off a nugget. He ain't going to give you nothing.
Luke, this is no joke. I have taped shows with him. And the night before, I'm like, hey, what are we thinking about doing this and this? And he's like, well, I'll tell you what we'll do is we're going to go Whoop Lake, Down Lake, all in between. Well, dude, you just said nothing. You said nothing. Are you holding information back, taping a fishing show?
Yeah.
And he does.
Dude, he's sneaky, bro. There's something about those Carolina guys, though.
Yeah. There's other words for sneaky, too.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. Something that he does to us on the MPFL that I'll call him out for and give him a hard time because he gets a ration of shit from the powers that be at the MPFL is we have our Bass Track, our version of Bass Track, right? Way Live Tracker app, whatnot. And he never, because he's by himself, he ain't putting anything in it. He's the tournament leader going into the last day, and we're like trying to guess what he's got so we can tell the story on live. And they're calling him in the boat like, "Hey, bro, he ain't gonna do it."
And what's weird about Patrick in my career covering this, both good dudes, Patrick, Ski Reese. They would literally tell you how bad the lake they're on is and then weigh in 120 pounds of bass. And like, dude, I did not get many bites during, I don't know what happened out there. Mm-hmm. It's like I dialed it in during the first 10 minutes of the event where you're like, all right, I got your number. It's almost like Skeet respawned Patrick Walters.
Yeah.
Total BS.
I would say Brian Thrift as well, who I know you haven't got to cover much, but you know him. Yes. And you could be fishing rub reel to rub reel in an FLW event when I was fishing with Brian Thrift, watching him catch them every cast, and then get ready to go back to weigh in, and he'd be like, oh, hell, man, I barely got a limit today. It's tough out here. And you're like, dude, exactly. I saw you. I've been with you all day.
2 bass.
And then what got me one time, and I'll tell this real quick. We were at the Harris Chain, and we'd gone over to Griffin, and we're on this flat all day where there's a million other boats, and we're out there throwing our crickets at whatever will bite. And I was next to Brian all day. We get in the lock, side by side, tied up, and Thrift and I were buddies. We're going back to the weigh-in. Like when the lock opens, we got to get back to the weigh-in. How much you got? And he's like, oh, hell, about 12 pounds. I'm like, dude, I know you have more than that. And he goes, Duncan, I swear I don't. I said,
I weighed him.
I weighed him. I said, I've watched you. I've seen you netting them. You're co-angler. Like, dude, you got a bag. I know you got a bag. So we get there. He weighs in right in front of me, like 19, whatever. And I said, Thrift, why do you feel the need to lie? Like, I just called him out, and he goes, I said, buddy, you knew I was going to know in 20 minutes when we got out of the lock. Like, why would you say that to me? We're in the same flight. We weigh in, and he's just like, I don't know, man. They weighed more than I thought they did. And he just laughed. And I'm like,
and I'll be honest, I really think like people like Koya Fujita have watched Patrick Walters and emulated his game.
Oh, okay.
In their own way.
So you think after all years of doing this, that you think Patrick is the sneakiest you've ever covered on live? You think Patrick is it? Or Skeet? You said Skeet too. Do you have another one that was kind of up there?
As far as the sneaky,
Yeah,
like
sneaky. Yeah, on live. Like just
there's a difference between sneaky and there's a like Patrick's just BS. Like, dude, when he's talking, you're like, you're such a liar. Like you're such a liar.
Yeah.
Like, Patrick, where are we going to dinner? Well, I'm thinking about this place, but we may head over here. Right? Sneaky. Koya's up there right now just because you know he'll and I've been near him and his translator and had tried to have Sego, the cameraman.
Yeah.
And Sego, I literally texted Sego and this is one of the first times that we were covering him. It was at Seminole, and I said, Sego, you got to get me something. He's like, oh, he'll give me nothing. He'll give me nothing. And he goes, and he'll give you less. So it was funny because Taku, who will give you everything, Taku will give
best.
Taku will probably give you enough where it hurts Taku.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The only here's what I can tell you. Taku would give you a longitude, latitude where he's fishing at.
And now a Japanese cola. Did you see his post today?
I did see that.
Japanese. He said Taku give Japanese cola and Taku boat party time or something like that in the caption. It was great.
And it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre because Taku is so open with stuff. But anyway, I said to Taku, man, I can't get any information from Koya. And I've only tried like 2 or 3 times. Then dude, you know instantly, like, all right, I've tried 2 or 3 times. Plus, I'm on the end of my career. I'm done with this before we even started. But Taku said, oh, Zona, you get nothing. You get nothing from Koya. So I would say he's at the top of challenge.
Okay.
Davey will have his hands full with that one. Yeah.
Interesting. I would have never guessed that. Who was your all-time favorite to cover over the years? If you had to pick a guy, and I feel like I know who you're going to say.
Aaron or Hackney.
Yeah, I was going to say Aaron or Hackney. Yeah, that's what I figured.
And Luke, what's weird about that question is 97%. You know this, 97%. So if you go 20 years, that's thousands and thousands and thousands of anglers. 97% were so. Rojas was one of the best. Dude, I'll throw you another one, and it stunned me. He won on one of your lakes down there. Jacob Wheeler was incredible covering him. Now, do I think half the stuff that was coming out of his mouth was total BS?
Could have been a little Patrick Walters.
But I'm going to tell you, Jacob will sell you on it, where you're like,
oh, yeah.
Right?
I think Jacob's a really good teacher, too, right?
Very good.
Content stuff,
Very
I think he's a good.
Right, let me give you a Jacob story. I've never told this story. So it was the Chickamauga. What do they even call it? What did
Bassfest?
Bassfest, or whatever that means. Whatever that means. So we're at Bassfest, and I had not interviewed Jacob before, and back then we weren't doing those in studio. We were at the event. Jacob's killing them and stuff like that, and we would. You've been at the weigh-ins. You take the guys that are in the top 5, you bring them behind the trailer, set up a camera, and basically interrogate them about their day and blah, 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 blah. And he's bringing it, dude. There's a girl to the right of Jacob. And I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but you're in a hurry. So you're trying to get all the juice and stuff like that. And I said, hey, are you comfortable telling me what you caught him on? And he said, well, I'm catching him on this crankbait, but let's go ahead and say, let's say this crankbait. I said, whoa. They might do that at FLW. We don't do that here. Okay. Because he had just come from FLW. And I said, no. And I said, let's just call it a deep diving crankbait to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah.
And I won't say the exact name, brand, and stuff like that. The girl pops into the conversation and, hey, about that whole lure situation. And I said, I'm sorry, who are you? What are we doing here? She said, well, I'm Jacob's sister. And I said, yeah, I'm not interviewing you. Right? So it all deflated. It all deflated right there. I remember Sanders standing there, and we got done with it, and I was like, was it harsh? And he's like, maybe. Yeah, I think it was. So that was my only connection to Jacob's sister.
But
so.
that's almost one of those welcome to the big leagues kid kind of things, though, right? Like if Bassmaster's the big, you're like, hey, here's your deal. We don't do that here.
Yeah, and then that's when she chirped. And when she chirped, Luke, you've been around me off camera.
Yeah.
On camera. I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go. Because I did one of these. Oh, I'm sorry. Who are you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Excuse me?
If Wheeler sees this, he will remember that when because he was a deer in headlights. He's like,
oh wow.
I don't know what's going on here.
It's amazing, buddy. It's amazing. All right, we're getting some comments. Where do they find the Zona podcast? TNZ
Zona podcast. I'm not real good at this kind of stuff. You know this. I know it's if you go to bassmaster.com, I know they threw it up. I think
it's on their social. It's all over all over Bassmaster social. They'll tell you where to go. I'm not sure. I have a hard time telling you low-lifers how to get here, let alone to Zona's podcast. But I will say, in this world where there are so many podcasts now, this is one that I am welcoming to the party very much with open arms, that I am very much looking forward to.
Luke, here's what I can tell you.
And I rarely say that about a fishing podcast.
You know? Right up your alley. It is so right. It is. But here's what the podcast is. Everything that you and I have texted the last 10 years.
Well,
which is eerily similar to your podcast.
Well,
I guess.
I hope Mike McInnes is ready for the tar and feather.
He's a big boy.
He's good to go. So favorite, I've got questions, believe it or not. Like I'm actually prepared. What was your favorite Bassmaster Live moment if you had to put a bow on it? I know that's hard, but what was that happened in front of you and Tommy's eyes, your favorite Bassmaster Live moment?
The first fish catch.
Okay.
It was Casey Ashley. Yeah. Because you knew, I knew, we all knew, wow, that was a moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, dang, we just saw a touchdown live.
For the first time ever.
Yeah. It was, I would say that it was funny because I look back on it now, and to actually have been there calling it, Van Dam did not make that classic. It was Lake Hartwell. And it was funny. Like, so we're on the set. I'm standing there, Van Dam's standing there, Tommy's standing there, and we're watching the monitor. And then you didn't know to shut your mouth when a fish catch was happening. Yeah. Like I think we learned that. I think we kind of paved the way a little bit of, hey, when there's a fish catch, you can actually stop.
Just lay back. Yeah, just lay back. Yeah.
Rein her in. And I remember that moment, Luke, where I kind of looked at Kevin and Tommy looked at me, and you knew that would probably end up being a pretty big turning point in the history of it. The history of just how the whole game is covered was that bass.
It changed everything, right? We go from 30-minute to 45-minute shows to an hour show, like recap shows, to 7-8 hours. And do you think that changed everything in a negative way, though, for the sport? Like where we're at right now with this forward-facing sonar thing, do you think if we didn't do so many hours of live that people might not bitch as much?
I
love you.
I do know that we compete with the Olympics when it comes to hours covered live.
It's a lot of bass fishing, bud.
Hey, dude,
a lot of bass fishing.
And what's funny is this is so jacked up. What I'm going to tell you is my first when you sit in that seat, you think to yourself, this is too many hours. And then what's funny is, when I'm not covering it, I will listen to that many hours and be like, wow, I'm a dork. I am. So I don't know. You know, one thing that I do know that Live has done across the board of all the leagues, my biggest thing was that we were honest and there was integrity with the lures of how they caught them, and there's not BS. I do think Live has, for those Patrick Walters out there, now that you have a camera on you for 8 hours, you're gonna have a tough. What was funny was, and I talked about this with Sanders, when he won on Murray last year, he dominated it front to back. And I said, man, you got a good gig going on. You're Carolina rigging them later in the day, but when those fish are up on them humps, I said, you're throwing something pretty tricky on those humps. And he said, I know. He goes, I'm throwing that smaller Zoom fluke. I said, yeah, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not throwing that, actually. I said, I'll be honest with you. It's on the deck of your boat. You haven't made one cast with it. And he just started laughing. Started laughing. Those are those little things, Bassmaster Live and MPFL and Major League Fishing. Those anglers know when they got something tricky, and he had something tricky in that tournament. The owner of that, I'm not going to give it out. I'm not doing it. But the owner of that company texted me the third day while we were doing Live, and he goes, hey, I own so-and-so company. I know what he's throwing. I said, oh, I do too. I have a close-up shot of it that I can't use. I can tell you that it is on my phone, though. So anyway.
No doubt.
Anyway.
Anyway.
I don't know if I answered anything right there.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you answered plenty, buddy. I feel like doing this is going into my 5th year with MPFL. I do feel like I have some kind of responsibility. I especially feel this way on the Alabama Bass Trail, to not blow certain things up. I'm not trying to deceive a viewer ever. I'm not trying to do that, but I do think.
But not explode it.
Yeah, in ABT, dude, you got guys like, they don't necessarily ask for live coverage. It's very cool that they have it, but like them stone cold killers, and you know them.
Yep.
So many, when you roll up on them in the Alabama Bass Trail, and they're like, they start to give you that skunk eye, like, hey, Duncan. Now, I always try to get my camera up I'm like, hey, shoot this from this angle where you can't see the background, blah, blah, blah. Oh, when I'm doing on the water.
And you do.
Yeah.
Because you obviously want to keep that trust.
Yeah.
With those anglers. So one of the biggest ones, bait-wise, was the hair jig, the Kentucky Lake, Tennessee, before it was out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So really where that hair jig really first went like this. So it was a Kentucky Lake tournament, and Van Dam was beating everybody's brains in. Rooming with Davey, rooming with Scott Rook, and I would go over and have an adult beverage at night. Mm-hmm. And so he's mauling them on a 6XD. And then when that water would turn off, his big gig was Paget's, the preacher jig. Mm-hmm. And I knew it. And I said, hey, look, dude, what do we do? Like, what do we do? Because this is before Live. And I said, look, you're going to have a ton of fish catches on camera. And every time he'd catch one, he'd do a Van Dam and turn around and unhook it and throw the bait real fast over the side. Yeah. But as much as I felt a responsibility to him, I also had to throw away my friendship. And there's a professional side of this where I said, hey, this is the Bassmasters. And I got it. And Davey walks over and lights my ass up. I mean, up one side, down the other. And he's like, you don't need to be telling blah, 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 blah. Anyway, before we left, he had a beat up one. I cut it off of his rod, and I had it. Like, I got it. It was all beat up, teeth marked, shit like that in it. And I said, look, dude, make me a deal. Make me a deal here. I won't say a word about it. You win this tournament. I got it. And he goes, deal. He won the tournament. We still talk about that at the fire pit at Whoville, me, Davey, and Kevin, because when I tell you it was a screaming match, it was us three in a Hampton Inn parking lot screaming at each other because I wanted. Look, it was like it was the juice. It was the juice. You know, Kevin wanted to talk about a 6XD. It was coming out every angle of his mouth, and I said, there's another key player in this, brother. I don't know. Don't worry about that. So anyway, stuff like
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Look past.
Yeah.
But I do feel like some. I mean, I've just seen things on NPFL and ABT where I'm like, I don't know, you know, not necessarily secret baits or anything. I'm talking about you see the way a guy works something, you know what I mean? You like catch a little, you know, you watch this stuff for hours and you go, ooh,
now look, I will tell you,
that wasn't how I do that, you know.
The gig, the Patrick Walters thing was a bait. It was it is a secret, and it's a herring deal. And I talked to him after the tournament. He's like, "Oh, moving on. We don't need to talk about that ever again." Moving on. See, we're moving on.
He's the intimidator, man. That's what I call him. He's like,
here's the best part of it, dude. Here's the best part of it. So he knows hooks it. And I said, "Tell me how you're rigging that little thing." He goes, "Well, what I do is I take one of those little springs. I put it right into the nose of that fluke." And I said, "Yeah, it's just actually not a fluke, though." And he's like, "Well, I mean, I'm just putting it in the nose of that thing right there. I'm just putting it."
He could run for a governor of South Carolina.
Totally. And win.
For sure.
Run and win.
He would have to ditch the shorty shorts, but he could definitely run for governor. He's gonna fish no forward facing sonar, bud. He's coming to the NPFL.
Oh, he's that good. You know that.
I was gonna say, Patrick was catching them long before forward facing. That's what people forget. Now he's super dialed on it, but he's gonna be just fine. We kick things off at Santee Cooper. What about I get to hang with some of your buds this year and get some of those Bassmaster stone cold veterans.
I've seen that.
The Christies and the Hackney. So I may be calling you to beg for advice on how to deal with Hackney when he doesn't want to tell me what color jig he's throwing.
Just tiptoe. With that little possum, you just tiptoe with that one.
Listen, bud, I've been around Hack enough in life that I know he is the most intimidating man in bass fishing to me and always will be. To be one of the best, like I love Greg, and I know you guys are super close, but I love Greg. But I'm always just like a little fanboy. Hey, bud, like from a distance.
Greg is absolutely positively he is my best friend on earth. I think I'm his only friend on earth. He actually made that comment taping a show a week ago, right? He's Luke, I mean this sincerely, is for the highs and the lows and of this whole sport. Man, you look back on a couple decades and stuff like that to have a friend like that. It's funny. I was sending you pictures last week when we were taping in Arkansas.
Yeah.
By the way, I think I texted you. I don't know if my truck got shot.
Yeah, you text me that.
Bullet hole, 9mm. And Hackney's like, let him try that stuff in the daylight. I'm like, we're not killing people here. We're not doing that. We're just doing a fishing show.
But if you needed a guy,
just saying, to be out with that dude, and I remember where I met him. It was before Bassmasters. It was kind of when his career was heading up, and he was crushing them on FLWs and Ever Starts, and I was leaving Ever Starts and starting TV stuff. All the way to like just last week, you kind of do a step back. Man, I'm on the bow of my boat flipping a jig at wood right now with Greg Hackney, and I'm not. I don't fanboy, but there was a part of me was like, it's pretty damn cool. It's pretty cool, man. This is a good gig. Good gig.
It's been a good run, and it's still going. It's been a pretty good run, and now you're buds with that little sucker, that little Cody Cannon.
How about him? Little angel princess.
He was texting me. He sent me one of his new swim baits. He's a hell of a. I got to give him a shout out. Toad Thumper Lure is very cool. Neither one of us are officially affiliated with those guys, but we're buds. We like to see it. But he's got a new glide bait. Y'all go check it out. I think they came out this weekend, but he sent me one to play around with. And of course, it got cold in Tennessee, right as it showed back up at the house. But we'll get that thing out there in a little bit. But y'all go check
Cody's real deal stuff, man.
Good people, man. Yeah, that's one of those, like, to be a superstar. I always tell him he is so Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Let me give you one with Cody. I'll give you one. So, yeah, my buddy might be watching this. I got a buddy. His name's Kurt. Lives right down the road. Big Bassmaster fan. Big Whiskey Meyer fan. Right. So 3 years ago, Whiskey Meyer's coming up to Fort Wayne or Kalamazoo, stuff like that. And I told my buddy Kurt, I said, hey, I'll get some tickets. We'll get backstage. March or April, something like that. Well, Kurt goes to the Bassmaster Classic. Cody had a booth there, and Cody's got a credential on, says friend, Zona family friend, stuff like that. And Cody's standing at the at his booth, and my buddy said, you know the Zonas? Yeah, I think I do. And he said, oh yeah, Toe Thumper lures and stuff like. Yeah, and my buddy said, I think the dude that the lead singer of Whiskey Meyer. It says this to Cody. He goes, I think the lead singer of Whiskey Myers owns this. Yeah. He goes, well, I'm going to their concert here in about a month. And Cody goes, well, we look forward to having you. And, oh boy, my buddy goes, oh, you gonna be there? He's like, I hope so.
If I'm not, some shit is going haywire. Dude, he's the most unassuming rock star.
Totally.
When he grabs that microphone, he's a damn rock star. He's a killer. He's a killer. My wife, and I've told Cody this many times, but my wife, the triple threat, she loves her some Whiskey Myers.
Yep.
She loves her some live music, but she always says every time we get to hang with Cody, because he's very gracious host at those events, like you know. And she says when he gets on stage, she's like, it just does something to me.
He's got the game.
She goes, but when we're just talking, I'm like,
you don't have the
same guy. And he's like, got to dip in, and he's like,
all right, let me give you one more. I'm going to give you one more. I've not told this one. So 3 years ago, they're traveling hard, Luke. They're doing it every weekend. And I said, hey, you want to meet me down in Texas? We'll go hunting at Whoville. Yeah. They're big deer there. I'm like, yeah, they're all there. Don't worry. So he gets there. First night we're on a fire pit. He goes, hey man, we've been on the road for a while. I gotta leave tomorrow night. Now I'm dead serious, man. I gotta leave tomorrow night. I said, you leave whenever you want. You leave tomorrow morning. You leave. I could care less. I said, I'm in this seat for 5 days. So next day comes, we all go hunting, and I'm back at my little spot at the fire pit. And he comes up, he goes, what you got there in the cup? I said, no, just a rattlesnake. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, I've made a decision. I ain't going nowhere. He said, I'm going to lock in this seat next to you. And he goes, I'm going to lock in here to the end of the week. I'm going to call my wife right now. You know how he talks. He goes, yeah. I ain't going nowhere.
Dude, I'll throw this one on him just because I know he's never going to watch this, because I don't even think he has the internet at his house. He's like the most anti-social media guy ever.
Totally.
He's on the bus. There's some YouTube playing every now and then, but he knows nothing about any of this.
Yes.
And so funny. But he, when I saw him, Fat Cat and I, we were doing MPFL last summer up in Appleton, Wisconsin, where the studio was, and they were playing Milwaukee. Fat Cat's a huge fan. Him and Cody have gotten to be buddies over the years too, but he'd never seen him. And we were like, we had finished live, and we're having lunch, and Fat Cat was doing something on his phone. I'm scrolling, sitting there waiting on the food, and we'd already talked to each other for 6 hours. So why should we talk at lunch?
Right, at all.
And I said, dude, Cody and them are an hour and a half down the road tonight. They're in freaking Milwaukee. I'm like, we should go. And he goes, dude, we got live in the morning. It's like, I don't give a shit. We're going to see Cody. So I text Cody and I said, hey, and I sent him a picture of Fat Guy. I was like, this guy has never seen y'all. I'm making him come with me tonight. Dude, Cody, they live in a bus, right? That bus life, you don't know where you're at. You don't.
Right.
My favorite thing that's ever happened. So we go to Milwaukee. He's texting us, or y'all, we're watching Brent Cobb, one of my favorite songwriters, was opening for him. We're standing side stage watching Brent. Hadn't seen Cody and them yet. They went to dinner. He texts, hey, y'all here? We're back. Come to the bus. So me and Fat Cat go, and he thought he didn't know where he was at, to be fair. Because I'm sure you've probably seen the venue in Milwaukee there. It's amphitheater. It's right on Lake Michigan. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So cool. And I was like, dude, you ought to be fishing right here. Like, we're cutting up, whatever. He doesn't know the city they're in.
Yeah.
Like, they
where
have
we
to
at?
tell. Yeah, they don't know.
Where we at?
He said, man, is Zona with y'all? Is he coming tonight? And I said, we're in Wisconsin.
Just because it was the north.
Exactly. And I said, Cody, he's in Michigan. He goes, where are we? And I said,
that's fine.
Go sober. But he goes, where are we? I said, Milwaukee. He goes,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Like,
yeah. The north is big, Cody.
The north. Yeah. It's not close from Z's house to Milwaukee. It's not close, bud.
I got to tell Karen that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, is Z with y'all? Is Zona coming? Y'all know if Zona's coming? I'm like, no, Zona's not here. Mark Zona, I appreciate you, buddy. You're the
best, bro.
This was a lot of fun. Keep the T. I'm looking forward to TNZ. Y'all go check it out. Available wherever Bassmaster tells you it is available. And I'll throw this out for the low lifers. The classic week gets crazy, but if you want a dose of low budget live, and I know you don't.
I don't.
If you want a dose,
maybe
the chair
Sunday.
Is open.
Maybe Sunday.
Saturday night, buddy. That's it. We are throwing a shindig Saturday. Yeah, bud.
I am not going on Fox after a night with you.
I know that. Everybody guilts Zona into it. It's impossible to guilt him into anything, but try to goad him into it.
No, I'm good at hurting myself by 9 o'clock anyway. I don't need to be with you past 9 ever.
And that night gets a little loud, little rowdy.
Yeah. You're the best, bro. You're the best.
Buddy. Appreciate you. Mark Zona, everybody. Right there, the legend that is Mark Zona. That was a lot of fun. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. That was brought to you by Eagle Claw. We got him on the hook right there. Y'all go check out the TNZ podcast with two legends, Tommy Sanders and Mark Zona. And this was a good one, guys. This is one of my favorite episodes ever, to be honest. And shame on you if you tuned in late, but you can go back and watch the entire thing anytime you get ready to. That's the beautiful thing about the YouTubes. And if you're listening to this on Tuesday morning, thank y'all for checking it out a day late. All right, guys, the Bassmaster Classic, I just mentioned it there. If you're just tuning in, I said this in the beginning, March 22nd, that's Saturday night. Saturday night, we're going to go live again with a live podcast, maybe the biggest one we've done yet. The Fat Rascals, might change the band name. Some of the band members are pissed about it being the Fat Rascals, but the Fat Rascals will be playing after Birdie's Social Club. Birdie's Social Club, Fort Worth. It's not far from the convention center, not far from the Dickies Arena where they'll be having the weigh-ins. We should start things about 7 or 8 p.m. that night in Fort Worth. You're going to hear me say this a lot between now and then. But Noah Dickinson, yeah, you missed it, buddy. You missed it, buddy. All right. So think about that. March 22nd. Make plans, Fort Worth. And then if you miss it, we'll do the damn thing again in Knoxville up on Rocky Top again next year. All right. I'm going to take y'all out with some Blux Blues. Thank y'all, man. Y'all, that was a heck of a crowd all night long watching me and Z. So much fun, man. So much fun. Thank y'all. And maybe some low budget light on Thursday. And we shall see you then. Thank y'all so much for the kind words, for hanging with me all night. Sorry we couldn't get to all of y'all. Were commenting a ton. Couldn't get to all of it. But, man, cannot wait to see what he says next on that T&Z podcast. Y'all go check it out. There's a lot of fishing podcasts. That was going to be a little bit different. See y'all Thursday for LBO Light. See you. Damn, that was loud. Just blew y'all's ears out. See you.
Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west, north, south, wherever the wind blows. I'm leaving those burdens at rest.